Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I can see there's lots of people waiting because I think you probably know that I'm going to be launching the latest things from John Next Door and Craft Artist, of which you may well have already seen John showing you yesterday on the Craft Cave Live, because it was a bit earlier this week, because he's rushing off down to do some workshops. So that will be really nice for the people that are lucky enough to be near to that. But I've got lucky enough to be doing all these. So I'm sure you are aware of them, but they are 4 new embossing folders, 3D embossing folders, and 2 lots of the new Craft Artist Mica Magic. Now, Mica Magic, let's talk about that first. Mica Magic has been with us for a couple of years now, and the colours that are produced have never been exactly the same, which is really handy. But I have to say, this collection of Mica Magic, I don't know what it is about it. John tells me that it's exactly the same factory and exactly the same, but something about it, I think that these are the best that we've had. They are a really lovely collection. So there's 2 Auroras, Dawn Aurora and Midnight Aurora. So let me show you this one. This one's Dawn and this one is Midnight. Got a cover on, so it's going to all be shiny for you. That's a bit better. Beautiful range of colours. So you've got lots of reds, greens, blues in that one. This one, you've got your metallic, and then you've got your pinks and purples, and a sort of a few light greens in that, which I think is a lovely collection. They are very creamy. They really are, and they are beautiful to work with, but especially for embossing folders. So I'm really looking forward to using those over the next period of time, but I'm going to show you my version of my card. If you did see John's Craft Cave, he showed you some of the samples that I did for him for the TV, and it's not quite how I did them, and it's lovely to see someone else do them in a slightly different way. But I thought, well, do you know what? I had organised that I was going to show you how to do that today. So I think that that's what I was going to continue to do regardless. So these are the lovely Mica Magics. This one, as I said, is Aurora, Dawn Aurora, and this one is the Midnight Aurora. I don't know which is my favourite, but we will go through them another time because they're just too good to just sort of pass off, but I had to show them to you. I like this. This is new. Bit of bling. We like a bit of bling, don't we? So that's the Mica Magic. Available over on the website individually, or you can buy it as a whole bundle, which obviously saves you even more money if that's the sort of thing you want to do. But yeah, so let me show you the embossing folders. And I'm going to show you this way round because I think that they show you, it shows better than showing you with the shiny packet because you can't see anything there. So this one is the deer scene, which you may recognise in terms of the deer are of the same families that have been the dies and things that we've done recently, which is lovely. And then we've got the holly, beautiful with the Mica Magic. That's what I will be using another time. Just beautiful and dark card for the Mica Magic. Then we've got the snowfall, which is a really random snowfall, which is lovely because it looks like snow rather than lots of little dots. And they are so deeply etched. Let me just grab, she says, the piece that's from here. And then you can see this one is done obviously on white card, but it's so deeply etched. I think you can probably see from there. The size of it is about 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, so just under the 6 by 6. So goes, you know, you can do up to an 8 by 8 card on that with all the layers, which is what I'm going to do for you today. But that is really a lovely deep etched one. So very, very good quality. And then finally, we've got the Merry Words. So you've got Merry Christmas in various different fonts and sizes and places, which again is a really lovely one. And I think as a set makes a brilliant selection. I mean, this one could be used for not just snow, if you ask me. Obviously, that one really is Merry Christmas, isn't it? And this holly one, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I didn't get that one to do any samples with initially, so I will be playing with that one a bit later. And the one I am going to use today is the deer scene. And as I said, if you caught the Craft Cave Live yesterday, you will have seen some of the samples and some of the ways that we did it, but actually they're not quite the way I did it. So without further ado, that is what I'm going to show you. I'm also going to be using this stamp set. Now, this is the snowy pine trees, couldn't think what it was called. Snowy pine trees, snowy pine trees by Nellie's Choice, which is the new version of Nellie Snellen. There's 2 stamps in here for the fir trees, 2 sizes. They work really, really well with what we're doing here today. So subsequently, I got some of those in because people I know were asking about those. So I did have some, but I have got some more in as well for you if you're interested in that. So what are we going to do with it? Well, I'm going to take my embossing folder, and I've already pre-cut to a 5 3/4 inch piece of coconut white card. And obviously with all of our embossing folders, you have got an innie or an outie. Okay, so I want it so that my raised piece is uppermost. And as we've said before, with the Nellie Snellens, you have got Nellie Snellens, with the embossing folders, you've got a slightly thicker bit, and that's your top bit, and then a thinner bit, which is your back bit. So what did I do first? Well, I made a sort of a twofer card onto this one, and that's what I want to do with you. So I'm going to first of all take my Distress ink in black soot. Now, the Mica Magic does not sit into the embossing folder, so that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to make it so that my embossing folder took the ink. Okay, so that's the way that I'm going to use it. And I'm going to first of all rub it onto the indented side. Okay, so my deer and everything are sinking in there. And I'm going to take my black soot and I'm going to wipe it down the trees and the deer and everything. Okay, so I'm making sure that it's covered as far as I can. I'm putting on a fair amount. Now, could we use a different ink? Well, in my opinion, the black ink, the distress inks, the dye-based inks for this part of it are the way to go, but it varies. Okay, so I'm going to now put in my piece of card. I'm going to close it down. You can see already that you've got that picture going on there. And then I'm going to run it through my sandwich. Now, everybody's sandwich of embossing folders is different depending on what machine you've got. Mine is a Gemini, and I've got the weirdest combination, so there's no point telling you what it is for me. The only thing I would say is when you're using the embossing folders, the 3D ones, just be careful when you use them that you don't push it. That's the only thing to say. If you push it and it goes too far, then it's not good. So as you can see from here, when I'm talking about a twofer, this is the first one. So this one, all I've done is wipe an ink on there. I haven't done anything more than that. And it already has picked up the background, if you can see that, the background, and it leaves your snowflakes clear. And it also leaves your deer family clear as well. Now, so with that one, let's just finish this card off because we can do this one so simply. I'm going to trim it round so that it fits. Let's put this all out of the way so that we've got a proper fitting piece, because I don't want that edge there. So I'm just going to trim that down just very slightly. And then I'm going to trim. Let's see what that measured. That measured just over the 14. So we'll go just over the 14 there as well, just to trim that down so that we've got a square again. Okay. Then I'm going to take a piece of black card and I'm going to take that to, let's try 15 by 15. And we've got a nice border there. And then we simply take a 7 by 7 card blank . Some glue. And I'm just going to glue this to the back. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. On a moment. Whoops. Let's do this properly. Do you know, I haven't had a chance to get in here today. All you lovely people have kept me very, very busy with the winter window kits, which you will see that I have got, managed to get some back in stock as well if you missed out on that, which is the card kit. But it's kept me very busy getting them all ready for you, I'll tell you. But most of them from, well, all of them are from Sunday, are all on their way. But yeah. So I'm going to then take, I'm going to be fussy, I'm then going to take, just want this to look extra specially good. I'm then going to go, so went 15 centimetres before. I'm going to take another white piece to 15.5 centimetres. And then a black piece to, let's just check I can do it, 16.5. So I'm just making up layers. Now, if I keep it without any foam on, how am I going to do that? Then this could go completely flat into a card, into an envelope, and you wouldn't be paying, you'd only be paying your very basic postage, which obviously we all like to bear in mind. And as you can see, was a very quick card. However, if you want to put a bit of foam on, you'll find that that will not be the case then, but that's entirely up to you. So I'm just going to put a bit of glue onto there. We're going to have one flat one. And that's going to go onto my card there. Bear in mind that that ink might come off. And then it's going to go onto my card blank. So there we are. Didn't need to put all those layers on, but I like to do that. So that is with just one swipe of any dye-based ink. So the craft artist dye-based inks are fine. The distress inks work well, but it must be a dye-based ink, in my mind, to make this pattern. And because I've used it on the coconut white essential card, I'm not sure if you can see, if I bring it close up to the camera, that in the background you've also got that hatched sort of look, which is of course just where the pattern of the paper itself is, and then it just picks up all of those lovely patterns. So beautiful just on its own. However, I wanted to add some trees, so let's bring back our embossing folder, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my cloth, albeit a very dirty one, and I'm just going to take off a little bit. Don't want quite so much. So where I had that grey, I'm not going to wipe it all off, but I'm just going to sort of dampen it down. I mean, I did even try putting water onto here so that this just blended a little bit more. But it's just, I've taken a fair amount of it off, and it's just sort of then leaves it to an extent. So I'm now going to take my trees, and we're going to use Versafine Clair. And I know quite a few people were asking John yesterday about using the Versafine Clair, and could you use something else? And the reason why I used Versafine Clair was you really need it to be a very sticky glue, a very sticky ink. It needs to make sure that it doesn't dry immediately, because then you've got a problem, because the whole thing won't work to the way that we're doing it. So we've got 2 sizes of trees. Okay, now what I didn't get out was that's a bit large. Hold on, just need to find myself the right size, of which have I got. Bear with me. Need the right size acrylic block. And of course, every acrylic block I pick up is either too small or too big. You know what it's like when you've got 10,000 things in here, and I think it probably is 10,000. Can I find the one thing that I want? No, because it's got to be big enough, and that's not big enough. Okay, we'll have to go ridiculous then. And ridiculous is taking a huge one. Now, I don't recommend you take a huge one, but for some main reason, that's what I've got. Now, you could do this in the stamping platform. We were talking about that last weekend, about how good a stamping platform is. But for this particular thing, I find a stamping platform is not such a good idea. So I'm going to pop that onto my acrylic block, and the 2 colours that I've got here are Versafine Clair in Rainforest, but also in Shady Lane. Now I think I'm just going to try Shady Lane, in all honesty. Couldn't quite decide, but I think I'm just going to go for one, which is Shady Lane, because of the colour of the card that I want to make as my background. Now, the one thing I would say about this technique is that you are putting an acrylic stamp, which is shiny and smooth, onto a shiny and smooth surface of an embossing folder. And therefore, if you aren't careful, you will find that it will slip as you put it on. So therefore, if I could chop that acrylic block down, it would be even better. But it really would be better if you were a smaller thing, but you just need to make sure that you hold it in place. So I'm just going to go down onto the embossing folder. I'm going to be careful that I don't wobble it about and take it straight off. And I'm going to ink it up again. And I'm going to move over here. So I'm going right over the deer. Okay. And I'm still going along the area that is the debossed. So these deers have got a dip in them. Going up here. Now I'm moving my embossing folder. No, sorry, I'm moving my stamp higher now. I'm doing exactly the same thing, just pressing down. Okay. And then I'll grab my little one here. And I am going to do them all the same colour. But you could, if you've got 2 different inks, you could do that. I'm going to do it half on and half off. So it just gives that there like that. Okay. Then I'm going to make sure I haven't got too much ink on my fingers. I'm then going to place my card back onto there and close it up. Whoops. Like that. Then I'm going to run it through my machine again, and hopefully the magic still works like it did the first time I did it. So, as I said before, it's the pigment inks that you need for the technique of the trees, but for the background, the distress inks work better. They're not quite so in your face, which is what I wanted to achieve. So if you now, whoops, take this one out of the way, can see, by taking off some of that ink, I've still got a bit of it in the background here, okay, which is just sort of making the shadows onto the trees. Or you could use, like John did, obviously, the Mica Magic, the silver Mica Magic, which looks brilliant. But the clever part, I think, one has to say, and I'm not saying it's me that's invented such a thing necessarily, but is the fact that by putting those stamps onto the embossing folder, they now magically appear as if these trees and the deer are in front of the trees. You see what I mean? All the trees now have gone to the background, and I just think, you know, very, very simple idea, but it just seems to work. So how are we going to finish this one? Well, I think this one we're going to have to do with a little bit of a frame, don't you? I think I need to look into my frame. So I'm going to use the coconut white, and I'm going to match that colour up with the sage card, the sage green card. Let me just get a piece of that, because I think, I don't know about you, that colour goes quite well with that. Now you could put in a sentiment here, but you know, you don't really need to, but you could do such a thing. So we're going to have our frame. Now it has occurred to me that I have not got my squares in here because I've been busy doing squares for you all. So let's go in with these ones if I can. Let's do a green one with that. Let's just do a green one. And then one of these. So these are the stitch dot squares. Whoops. I'm going to just do a simple frame, I think, for one of those. Okay. So I've just chosen a frame. I've got one missing from here because I've been using it. So let's go for that. So that's frame number 3 that I've been using, if we were counting them as the biggest one being number 1. Frame number 3 and frame number 6, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Frame number 3 and frame number 6 to make my frame on here. Don't use these ones very often, but if you just want to put a single frame on there, that's quite a nice idea to just do it singularly like this. So let me just tape that one into position. You can see that I've got very little tape there. Oops. And then take my other one. We probably won't get a straight one just for the sake of it, and I really should use my templates. And the idea that we've come up with John's workshop using templates is just brilliant. So, but I won't show you that I will wait till the master shows you that himself. Let's just put one down here. So I'm just going to go through that with my machine. Oh, just run that through. So the difference with the stitch dot ones, which the edges of these are stitch dot, are that they give you that little pattern. And because I'm not going to go to do the separate size, it will look quite nice with just that pattern on there, I think. But we'll give it a go, that's for certain. So let's just take this off. So this is the sage green card. Again, available over on the website if anyone hasn't or would like to have that. It's got a petal there. Somehow I managed to do that. Oops. So I think that's going to fit on there quite nicely, isn't it? Now that really needs to go onto a bigger card, I think. Got an 8x8 card here. Yeah, I think that needs to go onto an 8x8 card, doesn't it? So I'm going to stick my deer down. I'm going to go for a top folding, so the fold is at the top. I'm going to stick my deer embossing folder right down onto the middle of it, as far as we can. But you can see how quick and easy this is. So it literally was wiping it over once and I got my black and white version, and then wiping it almost off, but just leaving enough so that it really enhances and picks up these trees. Before I stop wiggling it around. Oh, there's a right and a wrong, and that is the right. Move it over that way a little bit, I think. Just about. Pop that to one side and just put some foam on the back of here. Yeah, you've got 2 cards done, and in actual fact you could probably get a third done just straight off from using the embossing folder as it is. In terms of getting rid of the ink that's on it, being that there's a pigment ink on it, I will just use one of my antibacterial sprays. The one that I use is this one, Flash. Flash Sparkling Home Spray, wipe and done. The smell of it is irrelevant, but it's a lovely smell, that one. But it just seems to be much easier to wipe off. You will get the black one off easily because that's a water soluble one. So any of the dye based inks are water soluble, but the pigment inks aren't, and so they wouldn't come off quite so easily. And of course, if you wanted to then just use it as a white embossing folder, you would need to clean it off properly, because otherwise you might get some residue from that. So I'm just going to pop my frame right over the top. It isn't a very deep frame, it's only 2mm, but it just sits up and finishes that off nicely. And then we can get a sentiment of some sort just to pop in the side. Am I going to go round? I've got to finish it off, haven't I? Got to finish it off. Got to finish it off, but got to finish it off with the right sentiment. And I need one of my small ones. And have I got one of my small ones? No. Oh, I'd be dangerous if I was organised, really, wouldn't I? I'm pretty sure that I haven't got one of my sentiments in here. Let me just move the camera over. Sorry, making you dizzy there. Got a nice empty packet. Well, that isn't much good, is it? No. Okay, I shall finish that off in a minute. So let me recap what we used for which cards. So we made 2 cards this evening, 2 very similar and 2 from exactly the same one lot of ink. So I used, for this one, I used a dye-based ink, Distress ink in Black Soot, just to give me that really dark look there. I just wiped that over the side that was where the deer were dented in. I did catch John saying something about belly buttons and whatever, but I'm sorry I didn't quite catch that. So I don't know what he was talking about with that. But yeah, so where they're dented, when they were concaved, dented in. So I've just wiped it over with my dye-based ink. Then, because I didn't want too much of that left, I took some of that off, allowing still just a little grey tinge in the background. And then I took my Versafine Clair, and this time, because of the frame that I've used, I wanted to use Shady Lane from Versafine Clair, which is a pigment ink. And the reason why you need to do that is you need something that will not dry quickly and sits onto the top of the plastic. But also with this Versafine Clair, for me, it's got that clarity and it picks up all of the detail of the stamp, which again is important as well. So I then stamped that onto my embossing folder over the top of the deer where I wanted them to, so that it then appears when you take that through that the trees are behind the deer and anything else that you'd want to put there, really. So that's my two cards for you today. I'll just go through the other items that we had. So we have got the deer embossing folder, deer scene embossing folder, which is available either in a bundle or on its own. We've also got the lovely holly, which I'm going to show you again very, very soon. So that's the holly. And then we've got the snowfall, which I showed you was this really deeply etched. It would also be good for sort of like bubbles and things, wouldn't it? Sea scene or something. And then we've got the Merry Words, which is the Merry Christmas in all sort of positions and that, which again is a really nice focal point. I can think of lots of cards that I'd like to do with that one as well, and indeed will over the next couple of weeks, to be showing you some and popping them up on the Facebook site if you haven't managed to see them then. And then we had our beautiful new Mica Magic palettes. So we have got the Midnight Aurora, which was the metallic type colours with the pinks. Love those pinks. Love those pinks. And the blues and purples. And then we have got the Dawn Aurora, which is the reds and the blues and some lovely greens. So Christmassy type colours as well. This one particularly good with the red and the green there for the holly, but lots of different ones that you might like to choose. And I shall look forward to using some of those on my holly one, which I haven't had a chance to use yet. And in case, as I said, that you wanted your silhouette stamps, you do need to, when you're doing the stamping in the background, she says, and it's the wrong stamp, that one, you do need to have a tree that is a silhouette tree. If you have a tree that is just all sort of like pine branches and that type of thing, it doesn't come out so well. You do need a silhouette tree, which is this type of thing. Okay, so all of which is available over on the maximumcraft.com website for you, obviously while stocks last, but they are all over there ready to go with all of the embossing folders and everything. And lovely set. Really enjoyed working with this set, and I hope that you will enjoy it if you decide that you'd like to get one as well. I just love the simplicity of these, that, you know, you don't have to, I know that the stencils and that are really lovely and they make up beautiful patterns, but sometimes a bit of ink, a bit of card, put it in, roll it through, done, sorted, on a black bit of card, that's it. That's it. That really is. Yes, I could add a sentiment. And I think sometimes those little thin, do you know what I mean by those little typed out ones? They would look quite nice on here, she says. I've got one, so I'm going to use it. I've just remembered that I've got this, so I'm going to use it. I'm going to chop it up. Only thing is, I'm not very keen on the words for very many of them. Like happy holidays. We don't say happy holidays here, do we? So I'm going to go for happy Christmas and see what that looks like. Might not look any good. Might not. But I just suddenly thought about it when I was talking to you. You know what I'm like. You know what I'm like. That type of thing. Yeah. That just sort of finishes it off. We know now what we're trying to say. Happy Christmas. But you don't need to put anything on it if you don't want to. And it just, as I say, finishes it off if that's what you want. So, as I said, all over on the website. So I hope that you will pop over there and support me like that. Now, where are we going? We are on Wednesday. So look out on Friday. I will be confirming the times, but they should be every time at 11 o'clock. Oh dear. Hold on, sorry. We'll be confirming it. It should be 11 o'clock on Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Monday with a bit of a bonanza with Christmas ideas, because you know what, folks, if you haven't had done those Christmas cards yet, you really are going to have to get a move on, to be honest. So I hope you can join me then. Some of them will be recorded, some of them will be live, and I hope that you'll get some good ideas from those coming up. So that's this weekend, the 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th of November. So do look out for those. So thank you once again for joining me. Hope you have a lovely evening. Take care, everyone, and I will see you on Friday, hopefully, but at some stage as soon as you can. Obviously, all of them are over on YouTube and will be there for whenever you can. Okay, so take care, everyone. Thank you very much. Bye.